Have you ever felt overwhelmed with all that's going on in the world? Sometimes we don't realize that we can make a difference. My name is Debbie Van Grieken, and it is my hope to inspire you to take small steps towards social impact. Join us each week as we have conversations with those who have taken simple steps towards living a more sustainable and socially conscious lifestyle. If you want to make social impact, let's start small. The Small Steps podcast is proudly sponsored by Moya Shea Products. As a listener, enjoy 15% off your online purchase. Use code SMALLSTEPS15 at checkout. At Moya, we believe in people helping people. Supporting the local and global communities that help our organization succeed is very important to us. We apply a fair trade framework when purchasing raw materials, supporting farmers and families. Thinking global and acting local, Moya works with organizations to better the lives of children through education and fair trade. Are you looking for the best moisturizer for beautiful, healthy, glowing skin? Our Shea products are superb moisturizers and have exceptional healing properties for those suffering from skin issues. Check out these products and our wellness line at moyasheabutter.com. Welcome back to the Start Small podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Van Grieken, and today I'm happy to be joined by Leza Kjarsgaard. Leza is a longtime resident of Burlington, Ontario, and her love of organizing stems back to her childhood, where being organized helped create a safe and less chaotic space. She's always enjoyed helping people, and in her career as an educational assistant, she's had lots of opportunities to use her skills. Many coworkers would ask her to help organize their space and help create a better atmosphere for the students. Leza decided to get certified as a personal organizer and has been enjoying starting her business, Blissfully Organized. She now helps clients gain control over clutter and make their space less stressful by implementing her systems for an organized home. Hey, Leza, welcome to the show.
Hey, Deb, how are you?
I'm doing great. We got another snowy day here in Southern Ontario. I guess you must be getting some snow there too.
Oh, yeah.
We're yeah. Both not winter people, but you do a lot better than I do. You at least try to get out there, and I like to hibernate in the winter. So
Yes, yeah, I try to embrace it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a perfect time to, when you're kind of hibernating and stuck inside, is a perfect time to organize. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about your business and organizing. And, I just think that there's so many people out there listening that are going to get some great tips and motivation from you today. So I really want to just start by asking you, I know in the bio, you talk about how you've organized from a very young age. And I'm wondering how that really helped you growing up as, being organized.
Yeah, organizing was just like something really inbred in me. Like, I can't even explain to you like where it came from or why. I always had like this like special attention to detail and knew when things kind of look out of place or needed a little bit of tender care. And so it also made me like super happy to see the results when I would put things away or I would display something. And it definitely gave me like a sense of order and control, but it also gave me some peace and calm, which always was fun to look at what I had purged or displayed or tidied up or organized, and always go back and look at it like I'm obsessed with it or something. Like,
right?
I gotta see it a few more times, like just because it looks so good.
Well, I love that sense of calm, like when you say that that's what you got from it, because I think that that's what so many people need right now. The world's gone crazy. We need a place that we can come home to and feel that peace and feel that calm. And so I really think that being able to organize your space is so critical, especially now. I'm wondering who's some of your kind of like inspirations or your gurus that you kind of follow or admire.
Well, there are a couple. Honestly, through this pandemic, I started watching the home edit girls, Clea and Joanna. And I was like totally like mesmerized and fascinated at how these girls could actually go into a room, organize it and transform it. And I couldn't even believe that they could take a space and make it so lovely. And I was just like hooked. And I just knew that this was something that I should do. I love that they would take their spaces and make them very functionable. And one in particular stands out to me. There was this kitchen project of this family. They went in, they took out everything that was just using up storage and maybe even didn't even belong in the kitchen. They took it all out and basically they made it really functionable and they listened to the client, which was really key. This lady had this like real vision for having like a coffee area, coffee space for her in the
Mhm.
morning to go to. And what they did was they listened to her and they put coffee mugs and their coffee machine and her coffee pods, her sugars, her spoons, and they made that space especially for her because that was what was important for her in the kitchen. And, it was funny because after that, I decided I'm going to do a latte space for myself. And that's what I did in my own home after watching that. So it kind of inspired me, but I just love what they could do with the spaces. And I knew I could do that too. It
That's
just made
awesome.
sense. It
And
just,
I was blessed to actually have your services not too long ago in my
yeah.
kitchen as well. And I really found this helpful in my own sustainability journey because organizing my food in particularly really helped me to reduce my own food waste. I was finding that, things get kind of caught at the back of the fridge or things in the cupboard I can't see. So I may be buying too much of something or not enough of something. And I found that once you kind of came in and helped me get a grip on that, it really, it's been amazing because now I can see everything and everything has a place. Now, keeping my husband in that system has been a challenge, but we're getting there. It's doing good. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm wondering what kind of tips you can share for the listeners who might want to organize their food in a little bit better system.
Okay, yeah. So basically, what's really important here is that when you start to organize, first of all, you kind of have to have like a desire to organize. So you need to want to do it.
Right.
A lot of people out there just they don't want to organize. It's just it's not the right time, or it's not the right place. So just wanting to do it is really a big importance, right? And I think too that you need to want to do it, but then you need to, start to see the importance of, like I said earlier, a space that is being taken up with just storage and things that don't even belong in that area.
Right.
And and we tend to do that easily. I think that once we realize that there is a space for everything and that it can be put back and kept as a sacred space for things and items, that it can work. Because what you realize is when you start to remove items from cupboards and shelves and spaces and such, that you realize, wow, I've got a lot of things here that really don't belong here, or they should go somewhere else, or gee, I could be making more space for things that I really need every day.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So basically, for a person that wants to start organizing, I think what I would do is I would sort of take things, decant them. So you can use your things like containers that you have. If they're clear, you can take the labels off. You can also make it visually appealing. So you might want to put it in clear containers and make it visually appealing. Because what that does for a person is when it's in a clear container, and people will say, well, why would you take it out of its original package to put it into something else? Well, it lets you see, first of all, what you have in the container, when you need to buy more of it to fill it, which also you have to put the expiry date on the bottom. Very important.
Right.
And
Yeah, for sure.
with like a piece of masking tape is always helpful. And also to put the new stuff on the bottom and the old stuff on the top. So it's called first in, first out. That's really important as well. And also that these foods will stay fresher in these containers. Because people will often say, well, why do it? Why are you doing it? And it's because it visually is appealing, but it also is fresher.
Oh, I
So
got to tell you, I love that I have put some of my like crackers and little snacks into containers because as you know, I have boys. And I don't know if it's all kids or specifically boys, but how many times have you gone into your cupboard, opened up a thing of crackers or cereal, and the bag inside the box has been left completely open, not tied back or anything like that, and you take a bite of that cracker or that cereal and it's completely stale. And
yes.
it's like there's half a box wasted because it's not even edible anymore. And that is a huge frustration for me. So ever since switching and like listening to you and putting it into these containers, I've noticed how much we're not wasting that food anymore. It's actually getting eaten, which is amazing.
Yes. And that's so important because so many people that I've come across in the past, including myself at some point, didn't use those little clips and everything was stale. So it had to be thrown out anyway. So you're being wasteful, whether you realize it at the time or not.
Exactly.
So yeah, and setting limits is important. Like, for example, if you have things in your cupboards or your freezer, it's important to give it a time limit, like how long do you want it to sit there for? If you're not using it or it's not interesting for you, it's not something you enjoy anymore, you've changed your diet, your sons or somebody's moved out that usually eats it, then you need to make a decision to um, put almost like a time limit on it and then just toss it out or give it to someone that might use it soon before it goes bad and is not good anymore.
Right.
So yeah, and so that's really important to just you don't want to be wasteful, but you also are going to be wasteful if you don't dispose of it.
That's awesome. I really keep going back to this mental health of coming in my door and finding peace and calm when everything kind of is organized. And I'm wondering what some of your clients are saying it's done for their own mental health as well. Like, there's a real push for minimalizing things, kind of having less, living with less and living with stuff that is more organized. Do you find that, it's got to be so amazing to have, less to clean and less to, once it's organized, you don't have to keep doing it. And so what are some of your clients saying that these, services or even like just doing some of the stuff themselves has helped them with their mental health?
Well, it's really funny that you say that, Deb, because really this positive placebo effect is just so important to gravitate to and to feel that you've done something, you've been inspired, and now you're ready to take on more inside and outside your home. It gives you like a complete clarity from the fog that it's always just kind of sitting there and you're thinking about from time to time. But once you get organized and you start to have some clarity, then you're able to have this like peace of mind. And this can come from anywhere, like even if you're trying to downsize. Many seniors right now are trying to downsize, and sometimes their children have to come in and really start to purge and figure out for themselves what needs to be kept or not kept. But so it brings a lot of calmness to a person. It lets them focus on other projects, honestly, it helps you in so many other ways, like sleeping and reducing stress and depression, anxiety. It improves your relationships. And now you have energy to focus on like improving other aspects of your life. And it also helps you to make better food choices because now you know what you have in your cupboards. So those are really some things that really help our mental health after getting organized. And yeah, it's like a very calm and peaceful atmosphere when you walk into your home because you know everything has a place and everything's put back in its place.
You bring up such a great point. I remember about a year ago, I read a book. I'll tag it in the show notes. Think it was called "They Left Us Everything." It was a local author, and she talks about how when her parents passed away. They lived long, great lives. I think, both passed away in their 90s, but they had basically accumulated a huge house full of stuff, and it was up to their children to take care of that and downsize it, get rid of it, sell it all, do all that stuff. And the overwhelm that it caused the children to have to deal with that. And so I think that, a lot of seniors now are starting to think that way. I know even my, mother and father-in-law have talked about, they have a lot of antiques, and, are the grandchildren going to even be interested in these, antiques and furniture and stuff, when they're kind of have smaller homes now because they can't afford the large houses. And so I think people are starting to think about, how to downsize, how to minimalize. And then our generation is kind of looking at, let's not create that kind of stress. Let's not even purchase those things. Let's stop with that attitude of having to have more when less is actually, more manageable and less stressful, right? So you bring up a great point. I am wondering if you can share with us a little bit about your system. I know that one of the great things is that you take everything out and create piles. So you have like a keep pile, a donate pile, a recycle or repair, and then a toss. And you even have a pile for sentimental items. And I know that that can be really difficult to deal with, these sentimental items that you maybe have to store, or possibly even, it's time for it to move on. So how do you kind of help people with those sentimental items?
Okay, so what I do is helping clients to declutter. It definitely involves like a time frame, and it involves breaks and water and snacks, and to have those time periods to work on figuring out what's the best way to organize and declutter. And sometimes you need to do this over like a period of days, weeks, or even months, like honestly. And for the reason that you don't want to become overwhelmed.
Right.
A client is needing usually advice. They want to know, like, where should I start? And that's a big thing. And I hear it time and time again. What what should I do? I'm overwhelmed. It's too much, and I don't even know where to start. So they don't even start. But what you need to do is take baby steps. So what I usually suggest is do it one drawer at a time, one box at a time, one cupboard or shelf at a time, one bin at a time. Just start with something and just start, because that's usually all you need to do is just get yourself started. And definitely, like you had mentioned, and that I do, is I have areas, like I have 3 boxes, or if it's bigger stuff, you can put a post-it note on it, and it can say donate, trash, and keep. So you have these 3 areas that you know that these items that you're going to be taking all of it out of a box, and you're going to put it into the donation. And donation can be family members. I know that yourself, Deb, you've done that with your family, as you've
Mhm.
donated to your daughter-in-laws. So And that's always good. That's a good thing to offer them first too, if you feel like you want to keep it in the family, and then you'll find out if they really want to keep it, if that's something that really holds sentimental value. And then there's discard or trash, and then keep, of course. Um, I mean, presently I've taken on a task of going through my basement. I've A, had the time, and B, I've realized that I have a lot of albums and a lot of pictures in boxes. So, what I need to do is I need to free up that space. And the only way I'm going to do it is if I take what I definitely want to keep in pictures in a box and then make it all digital, the rest that I think is important. And basically, you know, some clients will have trouble going through all their stuff, and their keep pile may be like a mountain high. And so, if it is high and it is a lot more items in their keep pile, then what you need to do is go back to it a second time with them, or they do it themselves, and just go through those items and have a conversation about why you're keeping it, and does it bring you joy. I think sometimes myself, I have to revisit my my things as well, just because I'm just not ready at that instant moment. But once I think about it a little bit more and go through it a second time, the keep pile does end up getting smaller. And I've heard so many sayings, say, like, people will say, oh, the best way to organize is to purge everything. And I'm like, well, that's not really true. You don't need to purge everything, but you need to know what you need, that you want to keep, what brings you joy.
Right.
So that's very important. And that's sort of the system that I go through and teach people. And there's a little bit more to it, but that's my basic system of what I try to encourage
Well, I
for my.
have a story that I want to share with everyone because you were really helpful to me when going through when my keep pile was getting a little bit out of control. It was a little bit big. And then, you taught, it was like, let's go through this again. And I remember that there was this crystal liqueur glass set. And I remember you saying to me, like, well, why do you want to keep this? Because first of all, that I don't really drink very often. Like, very rarely do I ever drink. So these like little crystal liqueur glasses are not something that I'm actually using very often. I guess it was sentimental to me because it was a gift that I had received for being in a wedding, in a family wedding. And so I kind of felt like obligated almost that I had to keep it. And then through conversations with you, it became clear that, first of all, that wedding is no longer intact. So that family member is actually remarried now, and it's not being used. It's not bringing me joy, and it's taking up valuable real estate in my cupboard. So after kind of, going through that process with you, I totally found that guilt lift, and I was able to donate that, and somebody is going to get some great use because it's quite valuable. And it wasn't, to me, it wasn't about the money or anything. It was about, would somebody use this and enjoy it? And so yeah, it actually felt good for me to release it. And so I think people just kind of have to, like you say, you might have to take a second shot at that pile once you kind of rethink why you're keeping something. But yeah, I love that. And I love that you were so gentle with me as well, helping me to come to these decisions. So, Leza, a lot of people start to get a little stressed when they're thinking about organizing, because they're thinking about, well, we have two kinds of people who will think, okay, it's too expensive to buy all these totes and containers and things like that. And then we have, people like myself who are trying to live a little bit more of a sustainable and eco-friendly life. So we're not looking for a lot of plastic and wanting to kind of reduce that in our lives and going out and buying new stuff. So what do you suggest, or what tips do you have for people who want to maybe just, like you say, reuse some of the stuff you have?
Yeah, I believe that, we live in a society right now that we do like to repurpose our items and upcycle them. And in doing this, I loved your ideas with your Moya, Deb. How you take in your jars, you take the labels off, and then you use them. You fill them with like pins or paper clips or whatever you have, and and that's so important today. Like, we really need to think about uh, what we're using and what we're throwing away if we can find a use for it. And I saw some really interesting things on Pinterest that I'll share with you. I've done a few things myself for sure, and actually Pinterest gave me some ideas. But like, you can take like a little teacup. So if you have a lot of teacups, and you can make them like little flower planters in your home. It looks so lovely by a windowsill. So there's ways to recycle or upscale or upcycle and repurpose the item. And another thing that I saw was picture frames, making them into chalkboard messages centers. So, like,
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I don't know, something in the bathroom, like there's all kinds of
Like
creative
the
things.
Wi-Fi password for your guests,
Yeah,
putting it in the bathroom.
yeah, I love that. And making shirts into pillowcases, and that's always lovely. And jars, like you did, into little, paper clips or whatever have you, and pen holders. You can take, I thought this was brilliant because, like, I'm into making signs, but take fan blades, paint them white, and make garden signs with them. It was
Oh, that's
really cool.
cool.
And again, mason jar lids, make coasters out of them. And there were so many different ideas. I just thought it was super cool. And yeah, if you can recycle and upcycle and repurpose your items, it's going to do us all good, believe me.
Exactly. I'll make sure that we pin a few of those ideas on the show notes so people can check out those links. But there's so many amazing ways that we can reuse what we have. And thrifting is also another great way to get containers that were maybe discarded by somebody else. They no longer had use, but like I always say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So getting out to those thrift shops and finding something you can reuse, which is just awesome.
Yeah, some people are so creative with ideas like that. It's amazing.
Oh,
And
I love it. I wish I was a little bit more creative, but I'm getting better, so it's good.
that's how I feel too.
So one of my problems that I have is that I can get organized and stay organized for a short period of time, but then I seem to fall back into my old patterns. And I'm wondering if there's any like tip that you have for people to stay organized. So
Yeah, well, this is a tough question. I thought about this long and hard, and basically it's just that if you really enjoy, like you were saying, the calmness of your home, and when you open a cupboard and how that makes you feel, then just give yourself time to revisit that shelf. And if things look a little disgruntled or a little cluttered, just start organizing them, shuffle it around, move it over, fill up those containers. You just need to take a few minutes to take a look at it and admire it and remember all the hard work that you put into it. I think that's really, really important, because it can happen to so many of us many times, but it's to stay on top of it and to remember how it makes you happy, because we do need to always revisit those things that we should take a look at and declutter. For example, clothing. They say that, when you buy 5 pieces of clothing, then you should take out 5 pieces of clothing. So is undesirable, because I'm sure we can all find that. But yeah, that's my biggest suggestion is just to
Yeah. So it's
go.
kind of like just taking that, 5-10 minutes and resetting your space, right? Like just like,
Yeah,
take that cupboard and go, okay, 5 minutes. I just got to put it back to where it was. And
yeah,
that. I know I also got a suggestion from you too, is like, if the kids are bringing stuff downstairs all the time and like leaving like a jacket on the chair or whatever, just having a basket at the bottom of the stairs, throwing everything in that basket. And then when the kids, come home or whatever, and they're heading upstairs, they know they got to take that basket up with them and put their stuff away.
yes, and it teaches children to realize that putting something back in its space is lovely. Like I mentioned to my sister-in-law with her girls when they were younger to get a basket with their name on it. And every time they leave something around the house, just to put it in the basket, and they can take it to their rooms and put it back in their sacred spots. If you make it fun and exciting, then it's not like a big task for them to do. You're teaching them a skill, and they're learning that everything has a place. And when they go to find it the next time, they'll know where it is. And that's really important. That's a really key thing.
That's a really good thing, because how many times do we put our keys down in the wrong spot and then we're searching for our keys in the morning and we got to get to work or whatever. So making sure
Mhm.
that those go back on a key, key hook is really important. And
Yeah.
teaching those kids. I remember, oh my goodness, a couple of times it happened with different children, but they would borrow my car, go out for an evening and then come home, put the keys in their pocket, not back up on the key rack, get up in the morning, take the bus to school. I'm heading out to go to work at the library and I can't find my keys. And then I, calling the kids and they're like, oh yeah, the keys are in my pocket. So
Right.
let me just say that they only had that happen once. It happened to two different kids, but I mean, it happened once and that was it. They learned that those keys better be on that key rack.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Everything has its place. And, even, teaching your family members, uh, they start to learn as well that, hey, this was so easy to go find that screwdriver, or yeah, now I can find my keys, or where's a piece of paper and pen? Like they just know where to go, and
Exactly.
it just makes life easy. Why
It
make it
really
hard?
does.
Make it easy, right? Yeah. So
So it's got to be, difficult for you going into some of these, organizing jobs. You've probably had some challenges that you've had to face, and I'm curious if you want to share maybe one of them or two that you found to be a real challenge.
well, it's interesting that you say that. I think sometimes the biggest challenge is couples, and it's only because each couple values their
Your
personal item,
stuff.
their stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so basically, they both have to be on board as to what they're going to keep and what they're not going to keep. But it really is personal, and you really have to respect your clients' decisions or their reasonings. But what I do is I really try to tackle the job with the clients that are present with me by keeping them on track, encouraging them, motivating them, because it can be daunting and
Yes.
overwhelming. And this personal organizing journey is not easy for some. So sometimes I have to ask the question, like, why are you keeping this, and what is its purpose, and and why do you what do you use it for? Do you use it often? Do you have two or three of the same item? And sometimes you find that as well. But just listening to my clients and letting them tell me, and figuring out what their personal needs and wants are is crucial for my for my work. And so once I can almost like get into their mindset and be compassionate and loving and caring and just, encouraging them and making them happy. I just, that's basically I know the end result will be. And it's a real psychological thing because you really gotta just really not be judgmental and just be really understanding because people's things are important to them, whether it might not be to you, um, but to them it is. So you have to be understanding and loving and kind, but a little bit firm and just kind of ask the right questions. And then they might be able to think about it and either give it up or realize, yeah, you know what, it means a lot to me. So I will keep that. Um, and then eventually you get it all cleaned up and all tidy and all the places that the things are supposed to be are in their place.
That's
So,
awesome. And you've got an Instagram account, and I'm going to link it for everybody in the show notes. It's Blissfully Organized, and you share a lot of tips on and videos on organizing there. And I love seeing your before and after pictures. They're so great. What's been kind of one of the most rewarding transformations for you to do?
I've done a lot of huge pantries, and I've done like a lot of purging in like people's basements that they've had things down there for over 25 years. So I think that would have been like the biggest jobs are the seem the most rewarding because they take a long time and the results are phenomenal. Like you can see the client's burden of clutter has been lifted off their shoulders and they're extremely thankful and they support and recommend me to other people and you know what, that's the most rewarding thing that anyone could ever ask for is just to be able to help someone so much that they just feel like they have a new life or something. Like
Right.
they're able to go out and conquer more because they just feel so clear at home that when they leave their home, they have, it just seems to lift some sort of burden off them. And
Right.
like you've really helped them out to stay on track and to do more inspirational things. So yeah.
That's amazing. Now, do you find that is there a better place to start, or is it really like what they're motivated to do, or should they tackle like the hardest project first, or like what do you kind of recommend? Because I know, like, it can be anything from the kitchen's a disaster, or there's so much paperwork, or there's a closet that's gotten out of hand. Like, where do you kind of tell people or steer them towards starting, or does it even really matter?
I would take the space that they love the most or they use the most. This will help them to figure out what they need and what they want in that space. I usually like kitchens. I find those are easy to do, but definitely start small. Start with a drawer. Um, Clean out a drawer that's like been a junk drawer forever. Measure the space in your drawer. Go out and buy containers that fit those drawers and those cupboards that can organize your things. And once you do just like one thing, it usually motivates you to do the next. But don't give up and don't, a lot of people don't have a lot of time. So just one step at a time, one drawer at a time, one shelf at a time, one bin at a time. You know, these things will get organized eventually. And it's not an overnight fix for a lot of people unless they hire me, but it can be done. It can be
Right.
done. Believe me. The willingness to do it and the readiness to do it is very important. And when you've had enough of something and you want to do something about it, you will do it one drawer at a time, and you'll see the difference. It's gonna make you feel really good. It's like
Yeah.
a sort of form of therapy.
That's awesome. I know I personally felt that way once we've done a lot of the organizing in my place too. So I can attest to that for sure. I always like to ask my guests, and you've talked, a lot about small steps, taking small steps. And that's obviously what we're here about, starting small. For us, it's, living a more sustainable eco lifestyle, a fair lifestyle. We love talking about this kind of stuff and helping people. And I always wanted to ask my guests, what one small step have you done in your life that has maybe moved you towards a more sustainable lifestyle?
That's a good question. I think just, weeding out things that I don't need, and just keeping things minimal. That's not easy for a lot of people, but I don't think we need a lot of stuff. I think we just need less. And we don't, and we, like you said before, we tend to hold on to many of the same things, but we don't need all those things. And, to be minimal is actually more enriching than to have a lot of things. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. I love it. Yeah, that's great. For people in your local area, so you're in Burlington, Ontario, so people in your local area can hire you and use your services. What about people who are not necessarily in your area? Do you have any future plans for creating some like workshops or things that people can do? I know you're generous in sharing a lot of tips on your IG account, so people can definitely connect with you there. But what kind of things do you have scheduled for the future?
Well, I definitely have plans to do more videos with more, definitely more tips and tricks, and definitely to, enlighten people and just, show them the before and afters, what they could have. And yeah, there, what, you can always hire me. I am in Burlington. I am willing to travel, but stay tuned for more videos and tips to help you get organized.
That's great. Well, I have really appreciated your services, and I am loving your videos and your TikTok videos and all your tips on IG. So I encourage our listeners to subscribe to your channels, give you a like, and follow your journey. And I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time to share your expertise with us today. And we're very excited to see what happens in the future. I know that you do have some things on the go, and we can't wait to see what happens and follow that journey. So thanks again so much for being here.
Thanks, Deb, for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and I wish for everyone to get organized. It'll make you feel good. Only keep those things that bring you joy, as Marie Como says. So that's really an important thing to always think about.
Yeah, I agree. If it's not serving you anymore and it's not bringing you joy, then it's just taking up valuable real estate in your place. So, again, thanks so much. And I hope the listeners will check out your site, and we'll definitely link what we've been talking about today and share some of those Pinterest ideas so that you can get organized in your home, feel calm, and also reuse what you have before you have to run out and get more. So, I hope that's very helpful for a lot of people. So take care.
Okay, thanks very much for having me, Deb.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions, you can leave it on my Instagram for sure.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Start Small. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found a small step you can take today. Make sure you share it with a friend. And if you have not done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and if you are enjoying this podcast, consider taking a moment and leaving us an honest review in your Apple podcasting app so more people can be inspired to take small steps towards social impact.